Hello everyone, and welcome to our session today on content marketing and how to manage marketing at Actionstep. My name is Trina Saunders. I head up marketing here at Actionstep, and my colleague Tyler Bannerman will be talking to us later about how you can manage marketing with Actionstep. Tyler's a senior account executive here at Actionstep. So first of all, I just want to talk about why content works for law firms, why it's valuable to you, the different types of content that I've seen working well at law firms, and things that you can adopt, some practical formats that I've seen work well, and then a little bit about distribution and then on to lead capture. And Tyler's going to talk to you about things like web forms, campaign management and Actionstep, and ROI tracking, and then also a little bit about relationship management and how you can really nurture your clients when they turn from leads into clients. So a little bit about why content works well. And because I do get a sense from lawyers that they feel like it's something they need to be doing, but they're not always sure exactly the purpose of it. So the first bit really is around showcasing your expertise. It's hard as a lawyer to be able to really convey the value that you bring to your client relationship until you actually start working with your clients. And so content gives you an opportunity to give a little bit of a window, a bit of insight into your areas of expertise and to start building up an alignment with topics so that you become a resource, that people start looking to you for your views on different topics. So that's the first thing. It's really a nice showcase for what you do. The second thing is that it gives you an opportunity to connect with prospects, gives you a way to resonate with them, to show that you understand where they're coming from, what challenges they might be facing, the types of solutions that might work for them, and let them know just on a human level that you understand them, that you resonate with what they're going through, and it makes this more likely that they'll want to engage with you as a service provider. And then the third thing is that content can be a fantastic prospect magnet. It can be a great lead magnet in terms of bringing people to you and to use services, either bringing them to your website, bringing them to pick the phone up to you or to introduce themselves to you. It's just about getting found, and I really think content is, if you think about it like breadcrumbs that you're putting out there into the world, and you're trying to bring people home to a certain extent. And your home being the most complete version of your firm, whether it's a website, a blog, a social media page that you might have set up with all of your content on it. And the thing that I would say is that, the other reason that content works well for law firms and development of content in different formats is that as law firms, you have been developing content since the dawn of time, really. It's always been something that has been top of mind for you. You're always thinking about your clients, you're thinking about what they're going through, you're thinking about the implications of different law on what they're facing, and what are the solutions to those, and what the options are for them, and being able to articulate that in a way that isn't necessarily a legal document, but is more for consumption, for broader consumption, is something that should come more naturally to you as you approach your content strategy. But again, like I say, it's something that law firms have been doing always, and so it's sort of really just a step on from that. So the different types of content that I see working very well for law firms, it kind of falls into 4 buckets, I would say. There's firm news, which is really about what's happening with your team, what's happening with the firm. Are you adding new service lines? Are you growing? Have you changed your hours? Have you won a recent award for something? Or have you had a success with a client that you've shared in a little snippet? So those sorts of just ongoing news about the firm. And that should be relatively straightforward, and it should just be something, almost a housekeeping issue, that you're keeping your external audiences up to date on what's happening with the firm. The second piece is probably particularly valuable, which is more around that topic expertise area, things that you know really well, trends that you're seeing in the market, your reaction to regulatory changes or legislative changes, and I guess offering clients an advisory on what they should be thinking about, and what they need to do to either solve or safeguard against whatever might be happening. And that's an area where you can really demonstrate your expertise. But it's also, and it's probably an area that lawyers gravitate towards because you like to comment on things like that, but it's really about the format of that's important in relation to using content for a marketing point of view. The third bucket is really around, the cases or matters that you're working on, turning them into stories. How did you approach it? How did you help that client? And then the flip side of that is client testimonials. So, clients telling their story and their experience about working with your firm in their own words. So that works really well because it gives, you know, potential clients and prospects an idea of what it's like to work with you. And you know, they can sometimes touch on things that are relevant to them, and it makes them feel like, oh, okay, I kind of see how these guys would work. So that's another area that I see working really well for law firms. And then the fourth one is probably the hardest. I think I've seen lawyers struggle with this the most, and that's around, you know, the more casual and organic market insight and sharing what you're seeing in the market. And those are the sorts of things where you're showing your connectedness. You're saying, you know, I attended this webinar today and attended an event. I spoke to my colleague. I spoke to somebody in business XYZ. These are the things we were talking about. You know, it made me think about this for this type of client, you know, so just really kind of putting context around the more everyday conversations or things that you're seeing, and turning them into short little snippets of advice for your potential clients. So I just wanted to go through a couple of practical formats that work for law, because, you know, we just looked at, I suppose, the different types of content or the different areas of content, and I suppose the one that I really want to focus on is that bucket around, you know, a topic expertise, because it can be the hardest one to get right, and part of the reason is just because it feels very like some legal writing that you might do, and it's easy to fall into that trap. So just as kind of quick tips on, you know, some things to be aware of: forcing yourself to be brief, forcing yourself to keep things to a page or two at most if you're writing, and similarly for video, that might be, you know, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes if you're creating something, if you're making, you know, a recorded Zoom video that you share out with your clients. Most important one is to remember who you are creating the piece of content for, whether it's writing or anything else. You should be guided by their interests, not by yours. So what are the things that they're going to care about? So whether it's, you know, if you're a family lawyer and you're, you know, targeting, you know, divorcing parents, you know, what are the things that they are going to care about most? It's the implications of the law, and how it affects their family. It's not necessarily the history of what's happened and what's happening in the courts. They just want to know what they need to be focused on. So I would very much gear towards, you know, short paragraphs, headings, bullets, make it scannable, call out key points, you know, use video you know, as well as part of your content mix, and infographics, you know, and use graphics to try and explain complex concepts. But the most important thing, like I say, is to make it scannable and simple to read. And I would also say the next thing is to think about just starting. Perfection is the enemy of the good, but it's also the enemy of progress. And sometimes you just need to get something out there, see how it works, see if people are engaging with it, see what the feedback is, and just iterate. You know, try it again, do it a little bit differently, see what happens. So I would just get going. So there are three different things, three different formats that I think work really well for law firms. The first one is spotlights, and these are really where you are looking at that sort of either you know, a case review of like a big case that's happened in the courts that isn't necessarily your case but has big implications for your industry. So it might be something that you want to talk about and explain the ramifications of. Or it could be a client advisory, just about, you know, something, a trend in the market or something that your clients are regularly coming up against. But again, these need to be kept short and less information on the issue itself, a little bit about the background. It's much more around the implications for the people that you're speaking to, and what are the steps that they should take to safeguard against whatever this might be, or what are the lessons learned from that court case, so that they then can take that piece of content and go, right, this is what I need to implement in my life, in my business, in my relationships, whatever it might be, to safeguard against what that case is about. The second thing then is a checklist, and as the name suggests, that can be in a variety of formats, but essentially it's a step-by-step guide. So it's sort of, you know, a 1 to 5, a 1 to 7 considerations to think about on topic X, or these are the first steps that you should take when you're approaching this particular issue. It could be just, you know, a 1 to 5 of key themes. It could be quite high level. But the great thing about doing checklists is that you can do them in a variety of formats. You can obviously do them in a simple written list format. You can do them as a more graphical designed format, or you can do it as a very simple video where you just talk through your 1, 2, 3, 4. They can also be really good precursors to more detailed articles. So if people are interested in learning more, if they're interested in getting a bit more detail and substance, then you can ask them to sign up and get the deeper article or white paper or whatever it might be after that. But you know that you've given somebody a little bit of information up front, so they have a good sense that you have expertise in this area, and then you can lead them into giving them more detail. And then the third one is briefs, and that this probably is more related to that sort of market insight, that more organic sort of thought leadership aspect that we talked about previously. And these can be how these work really well are very short little snippets of your thinking on things that are happening in the market, things that are happening in law, things that are happening with your clients. So themes, broad strategic themes that you're seeing, and what people should be thinking about, and why is it important to them? Well, how might it affect their business? How might it affect their lives? How might it affect what you're working on? And again, I would keep, if it's a written piece, it's a short 250-word little snippet of your thoughts. It's just a thought-provoking piece, again, to put yourself in front of them as a thought leader. And then, underlying all of that is having some sort of structure around this. The process for creating this content is very important. Having a goal in terms of a schedule. Is it just you who's creating it? Is there somebody else on your team who's going to help? Who's going to help you publish it? How are you going to get it into the hands of your clients, but also into the hands of potential prospects? So just having a it doesn't need to be a detailed plan. It can just be 10 bullet points as to how you're going to manage this, that you have some kind of schedule of running these one piece or 2 pieces a month, whatever it might be, but that you have a plan and you stick to it. And I've just have a few examples here that I wanted to show you briefly. I talked about infographics. You can see they can be done in a variety of ways. Something very, very specific. Like the example here is about giving good testimony and some tips on that. Or it can be a very broad strategic issue around GDPR and the ramifications for businesses. But these might be a little bit daunting when you look at them because they're highly designed. I would say there are many, many templates that you can get online and you can tailor to your particular topic. But it is easy to put content together in a simple form that doesn't require that level of design. You can do something in Word, like this example on the right here, that just has some small graphics and some headings, and it makes it very scannable and easy to absorb. Or you can do something on your website or your blog, which is just broken up really nicely into paragraphs, so it's easy to follow. But again, the key is keeping it short into one page there. So distribution. So you've created, your first piece of content, or it might be your 19th piece of content, whatever it is. But you've created it. You're happy with it. It speaks to something that your clients are interested in, and now you need to get it in front of prospects, or you need to get in front of your current clients. So the key question is, where are they? Where are they spending their time? Do they spend most of their time in their inbox? Do they spend most of the time on their phone? Do they spend most of the time on social media platforms? And that's how you know how you should be distributing your content. I would recommend that you have a central hub for keeping any content that you produce, whether it's video, whether it's graphical, whether it's written, whatever it might be, that you have a central place to bring people to, because that will give people the best overview of all of your expertise, of all of your thinking, as a firm or as an individual. So whether it's a blog or a website, or if you just aggregate all of your content on LinkedIn, for example, via LinkedIn publishing, which anybody can do. And then you can take a multi-channel approach where you can say, okay, we know that some of our clients like to get this on email, but actually if we're looking for new prospects, we should be getting this out over our social media channels. And maybe we might partner with a local publication or with a very topic specific publication to publish this for us. So taking an approach that will get you to the people that you want to see this, but essentially you're always bringing them back to your central point, your blog or your website, so that they can see everything that you have to offer. Just in terms of distribution, I will just focus on social media very briefly, because I know this is something that a lot of lawyers use, some very well, some not so well. So I just want to touch on it because obviously it's a very accessible channel to get your content to market to the people that you want to see it. The key phrase to remember in your mind when you're looking at social media is PACE. It's a nice acronym just to keep you on track as to what you're doing. The first thing always when you're approaching any channel is to have a purpose, to really know what you are doing there. What do you want to get out of this? Why are you using social media? You know, is it simply to reconnect with some ex-colleagues who you want to develop a better, you know, business working relationship with? Is it to win new prospects, in which case you might think about using social media in a slightly different way? Is it about becoming a topic expert on a very specific topic, in which case you're going to be, you know, connecting and engaging with other people that are also talking about that topic, so you become part of that community? So, you know, your purpose will set how you behave on social media, and it's really important to write that down and have that clear in your mind. The second piece is that your audience, you know, obviously anything that you're saying needs to be of value to your audience. And in most cases, that audience will be your prospects and your clients and other people in your ecosystem, that might be referral sources or other people that you work with. But you want to add something to the conversation here. It's not just about, you know, sharing, liking others. And lawyers do sometimes have a tendency to be a little bit passive rather than really, you know, adding something to the conversation. So, you know, think about what your audience want to hear and try and add your point of view. The third one is care. So because social media has a role in our lives personally, sometimes the lines can be a little bit blurred, especially if you're using Facebook for prospecting or for your marketing. There is some gray area there between, you know, your personal persona, who you are with your friends and your family, and who you are as a professional. So it is really important just to keep in mind that those things should be separate, and to kind of manage your professional brand to a certain extent. And you know, if you're a B2B lawyer, then it's also really important to think about, you know, not criticizing other companies, not criticizing competitors, and make sure that you always kind of keep that sort of, you know, professional higher ground. And then the fourth thing is engage. Like I mentioned, I mean, sometimes, you know, being passive on social media is not particularly helpful. If you're going to be involved, be involved. You know, so engage, you know, put some ideas out there, respond to people who are also speaking around that topic, or that are in your sector, who are, you know, that you're engaging with on a day-to-day basis, and spark new relationships as well. You know, look at what other people are writing about, comment on what they're writing on, you know, get into a little bit of back and forth, and you can actually develop some new relationships. And I think people are really seeing that now, when they don't have the kind of person-to-person contact that we used to have pre-COVID, that actually you can replace some of that business networking by using some of those social media channels really effectively. But again, it does take some time and effort, and it does take a commitment to actually engage. So rather than go into too much detail on social media, we are going to send you out our action steps, do's and don'ts of social media. It's just a short little booklet, and it can just help to give you a nice guide on what to do and what to avoid. So what's the purpose of all of this? What are we trying to do with this content? As we mentioned, we're trying to carve out a space for ourselves. We're trying to develop our brand. We're trying to showcase our expertise. But ultimately, you know, we're looking also to build our business with market. When we're looking at content from a marketing point of view, you're looking at generating leads. You're looking at building your business. So, you know, the flow from left to right here is that, you know, you have used your channels, you've used your distribution to reach prospects. They've liked your content. They come to your content hub, which is your website or your blog or your social media page. And then you need to give them an opportunity to engage with you. And, you know, simply offering them a number to call or an email to get in touch with, that requires them to take an extra step. So giving them a form that they can fill out, that they can provide some information to you so that you can either do an automated follow-up or you can kick off the sales process, is really important. And so, you know, we use forms a lot at Actionstep. It gives us great visibility across who's engaging with our content, who's interested, and it also lets us know how we should follow up. So if somebody has downloaded a piece of content, then, you know, they're interested in your content. They're not quite be ready to engage with you yet. So it's you know that a nice soft approach is appropriate. And so, you know, this is a nice segue now to what Tyler is going to talk about, which is really how Actionstep can help you to take that spark of interest, to take that lead, and bring them along the client journey through Actionstep. So that's it for me. I'll hand over to Tyler.
Thanks, Trina. Yeah, that was very useful. What I just wanted to show you today is, obviously, once you've gotten Actionstep to a point, once you've gotten your content marketing to a point of, can you all see that okay? Yeah, cool. Once you've gotten Actionstep to a point of being able to actually capture these leads. And once you've got the content marketing, you can use Actionstep to capture web forms, to log marketing campaigns, to track your ROI, and to actually get some good visibility over the actions that you're taking and the return that you're actually getting. So I think first things first to just cover with you are really how can you capture leads with web forms, and then how can you log that as a marketing campaign. So many of you will have probably heard of web forms with Actionstep if you're on our Pro or Pro Plus accounting um, versions of Actionstep, then you will have web forms built into your system. So if you go to more here, actually at the top, and you go to web forms, just gonna minimize, go to webinar there we go. If you go to web forms, now these are all of the different forms that I have created in this personal system. If you don't see any of those, that's just because you haven't created one yet. So all you have to do is go to Form Manager, click new web form, and then you'll be able to start creating the form that you can then post on your website for this new sort of leads to come in and actually submit with you. So I imagine if you've got different content, or maybe if you want to leave a little bit of a teaser on the website saying, hey, submit this form and we'll send you maybe another piece of information or another document, people can then submit the web form, and then it's actually going to come in here into a triaged system for you to process their information in your system and then actually send them out that content as well. So other interesting things that you can actually do as well with web forms and making it even easier to capture data with Actionstep is web forms can also be hooked up with different bots as well. So just showing you an example of this on your website, you can actually have it so that bots like this, so this is one of our integration partners, Joseph, actually interact with the web form as well. So I can see here that as I go ahead and enter in all my details here, the bot is actually interacting with me and asking me more questions. And by the time I finish this interview, that's actually going to end up as a web form on my website as well, or sorry, in Actionstep. So once you've actually got the web form, you've processed it and you've gotten it into Actionstep, really then it's about, well, how do you actually measure that in Actionstep? So you might have created a matter out of this, the person might end up becoming a client, and you want to track, you want to track this marketing and you want to track what your ROI has been. So one of the first things that I'll point you to is in Actionstep. In many systems, this is actually just a standard matter type that we include in pretty much every system. It's actually called the sales and CRM matter type, and there's also marketing activity, and there's marketing campaigns that are a part of most Actionstep systems. If you are currently looking in your Actionstep system and you don't see that there, you can actually just go to our website, just go to actionstep.com and go to the add-ins section, and you'll find the this sales CRM. It also includes the marketing matter types as well. It's a free add-in that you can put into your Actionstep system so that you can start doing some of the stuff that I'm showing you. So just head to our website, download that, and then you'll have that in your Actionstep system. So once you actually create a marketing campaign, this is essentially what it will look like. So you'll have this overview of the campaign where you basically post how long has it started from, when is that ending, how much has it costed you. Obviously, some of these things, there's lots of free ways to do content marketing with, just post from your LinkedIn account or posting it on your blog or any of those sorts of things. But if you're actually spending any amounts of money on these sorts of things, that like maybe paying to go to an event, or maybe you actually pay to run some LinkedIn ads or any of those things, you're going to want to actually track how much you're spending on that and then how much income that you derive from it. So I can see in this campaign here, I've just created one, Australian Events 2020. I've got here $50,000 in expenses. I'm hoping for 100,000 there, and I'm gonna create matters from a few different types there. You can log individual activities as well. So I've actually got here an event, maybe Outma 2020, which is also its own event, its own marketing activity as well, that has its own budget, its own forecasted income amount that I'm hoping to get from it, with its own ROI as well. You can track expenses against this, and you can also log matters against these marketing campaigns as well. So how do you actually do that? You've had a lead come in, you've had a conversation with them, they've signed your cost agreement, and you're actually going to get to do some proper work because of this marketing that you've done. How do you log that? Well, if you simply go into a matter here, so I've just got Actionstep general advice as the matter in Actionstep. You'll probably see here when you go to billing in the matter, you've got your fees, disbursements, invoices, payments, and then you'll have an area here called sales and marketing. So simply click into that and you'll be able to fill in lots of information here, and you'll actually be able to log that information, this matter, to that specific campaign. So I can see here ROI, I met this person at Altma, that's where I've actually gotten this work from. And that means that I can now see that now that I've actually billed that amount, I can see I received $7,500 worth of income from this campaign. So considering I spent 15,000, I still haven't even met half of my expenses yet. And that's the same here with the overall yearly campaign of just all of my Australian events. So again, I've spent 50,000 there and I'm forecasting 100,000. I'm obviously still a long way to go on actually meeting the amount that I've spent. So that's some of the key ways that you can have web forms come in, how you can create marketing campaigns in Actionstep, and how you can actually log matters against your activities so you can actually start tracking what ROI you're getting from those. What I want to do now, I'm just conscious of your time, is I want to open the floor up to some questions as well. You might want to ask Trina just some more general advice questions on marketing, or you might want to ask me some questions on how to automate some more things in Actionstep. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll over to GoToWebinar here, and I'll actually just unmute everyone, and then people can basically just go ahead and ask questions. So let's just unmute all. Yep, there we go. So I've given people the ability to unmute themselves now. So you should be able to just unmute yourself and ask a question if you have any. So I've got a typed out question here from Janny here. So how do you get the bot to be integrated? So that's a great question. So Janny has asked, the bots with Actionstep, how do you actually get that to integrate with the Actionstep web forms? So the technicalities of it, basically what we do is we make it so that whenever an answer from the chatbot here is given, it's actually logging those answers in the back end, and then we actually tell Joseph to basically submit the web form with these answered questions afterwards. So the actual intricate details of how you get that to happen, I'd have to send you some more information on that. But there is also lots of info on the sort of stuff in our user guide. But if you have any questions specifically on how to get this integrated in more detail with Joseph, Trina, do you have my email on the back end of this?
Yeah, there's an email at the end of the slides which everybody will receive, but we'll follow up with an email anyway, and we can provide your details, Tyler.
Yeah, sounds good. So I can give you some more details there on how to integrate the bot with Actionstep. Just waiting to see if there's any other questions here. I can see Michael's asked me a question here. Can we use the CRM matter type to manage referral channels rather than sales? Yes, that's a great question, Michael. There's a lot of different ways that you can actually manage how you actually track referrals in Actionstep. So one of the ways that I've done, so you could use the CRM, you actually could use this entire marketing campaign matter type to actually create referrals, like companies that are referring you, for instance. So if you've got a core group of maybe 5 different companies that are constantly referring you work, and you want to track who's sending you the most work, then one thing that you could do is, rather than making this Australian events 2020, you could actually make this a couple of different regular refers that are sending you work, and then that way you'd actually be able to come in here and have this exact same dashboard showing which different refers actually sent you the most work. There's some other interesting things that you can also do with your parties on matters and the custom list views in Actionstep as well. So you can actually add a role when you're creating a matter. You obviously pick client, lawyer, legal assistant, you pick all your roles. One thing that I know some other clients do is they have a refer on there as well. So they'll add the refer and to the parties, and then you can actually create a custom list view showing how much have you billed from that refer as well. Hopefully that that answers your question there, Michael. I can see Peter's asked a question as well. Will Tidio, another bot, integrate? I'll have to figure that one out for you, Peter. I'm not quite sure. Joseph is the only one that has put the effort forth to actually like looking to integrate with Actionstep. We've had a few other bots sort of inquire, but Joseph is the one that really grabbed our documentation and made Joseph work with Actionstep. So I'm not sure about Tidio, but I've got your details, Peter, so I can follow up with you on that. Well, if there aren't any other questions, Trina, I might just quickly hand back to you so you can just finish off maybe with the final slides, just showing the contact details if anyone has any further questions. Can we go Actionstep team? There we go.
Sure thing. I will. You can see my screen there. Yeah, really, we just are wrapping up, but I just wanted to show you if you want to get in touch with us. Like I say, we'll follow up with an email with the slides and with the recording, and Tyler's details will be in that, and also the details for our support team. If you have any questions or if you need any more advice from a marketing point of view, please do feel free to get in touch with myself. So like I say, all those details will be in our follow-up email, so look out for that. That's it. Thank you very much.